I'm standing at gate 32B watching a family that used to be my family scream at a ticket agent who definitely did not sign up for this, and the strangest part is how quiet the world feels inside my chest. Like the moment after fireworks when the smoke hangs and the dogs finally stop barking. And I know that's a messed up way to describe peace because technically, this is the wreckage of a 12K vacation and a year-long relationship, and a carefully curated illusion of we're all good. We're one big happy family. That was always an infomercial playing over a moldy basement, but here I am, calm as an iced latte, watching the consequences board last, and you might call that revenge, but I call it gravity, because when betrayal stacks up high enough, it falls on its own. And now the overhead speaker is announcing a delay to Fort Lauderdale, and my ex-girlfriend is doing that cry that sounds like a cough, while her mom, who once told me, "You're such a nice boy, the way you talk to a golden retriever that brought the wrong stick," is demanding compensation. And her dad, who loved to say, "In this family we take care of our own," is learning what a resort fee looks like when there's no resort. And I know you want me to say I planned every twist like a Bond villain, but this is America, baby, the land of unintended consequences and frequent flyer miles. So maybe I just gave fate a little nudge, set a few dominoes in a line, and stepped back, because yes, I paid for that 12K vacation. Yes, they kicked me off and replaced me with the guy they were setting her up with, like I was a trial version, and he was the subscription. And yes, I smiled politely, swallowed the humiliation like cold medicine, and then remembered I had the keys to everything. Reservations, confirmations, the invisible plumbing of modern luxury. And if you think that's toxic love, you're half right. But the truth is, the toxicity started long before me, in whispered plans and sudden girls' nights that became long weekends, in a family group chat that renamed itself The Plan and somehow forgot to include me, in the guy with the unnaturally white shoes who called me brother with the sincerity of a pop-up ad. And if this sounds like a conspiracy, good, because all cheating begins with a conspiracy. A small one practiced in tiny rooms, and I didn't start it. I just stopped pretending not to see it, and now, after all the cancellations and rebookings and, oh no, looks like the boat overbooked. And, dang, the villa had a plumbing emergency after the five-star dinner that became a food court tour of global disappointment, after the champagne tasting that tasted like lukewarm apologies. We're here, at 32B. And they're staring at the kind of bill you only see when you have no leverage left. And I'm not proud, but I'm not sorry either, because family was the word they used while cutting me out. And revenge is the word you'll use for what follows. But to me, it's a ledger moment, a balancing of accounts that never balanced. And if you need an origin story, fine. Roll the tape back, reverse the reel, watch the smiles unfreeze and the villa reassemble itself. Watch the tickets jump back into my Apple Wallet. Watch the group texts fill themselves with "can't wait" and "he's so generous." And me, the nice boy, nodding along, not knowing that in 2 weeks I'd be the funding source of my own disappearance. But before we rewind, let me tell you one last thing from the end. When everything finally broke, when the airport fluorescents turned their faces ghost white and the new guy's shoes were no longer white but tired gray, my ex looked at me across a river of humanity and asked quietly, like a person begging the universe to give her one free pass, "Did you do this?" And I said, just as quietly, "No, you did," because betrayal is a self-solving problem, and all I did was stop solving it for them, and that's how the story ends, which is why it's where we'll begin. Let's take it from the top, from the moment I decided love needed an itinerary, which already sounds like cheating at fate, but that's how Americans apologize for ambition. We put it in Google Sheets and call it a plan, and my plan was simple. 1 week, oceanfront villa with a pool so blue it could teach the sky some manners, a private boat charter with a captain named after a tree, a sunset dinner where the napkins would know which lap to bow to, and a list of surprises long enough to make a Hallmark producer cry, because I wanted to prove I belonged to this family that loved to say, "We're a lot," like they were an Avalanche or a Broadway cast, and I was fine with that. I was raised on sitcoms where the loud family is secretly good, where the dad blusters and then hugs, where the mom micromanages but for your own good, where the siblings fight but the credits roll over a group cuddle, so when the jokes got sharp I laughed. When the advice turned into directives I nodded, when the "you're not really her type" slid across the table like a water ring. I pretended it was a napkin, and maybe that's on me because if you don't clock the early betrayals, you end up underwriting the big one, and I underwrote the hell out of it, with deposits and confirmation numbers and a spreadsheet that could have run a small country, because the thing about a 12K vacation is it lives in the cloud, which sounds like heaven but acts like a trap door. And the second thing about it is everyone gets very used to something they didn't build very fast, and you start hearing sentences like, "We prefer real butter," and "Can we bump the boat an hour later?" and "My friend might join for 2 nights. He's practically family." And that last part was the first time I met the guy with the white shoes, except I didn't meet him. I met his placeholder, a rumor in a conversation, a name said lightly, like a test balloon, and the room watched me for a flinch. And I didn't flinch, because love teaches you to be brave in exactly the wrong direction. And anyway, we had tastings to confirm and excursions to time, and I had this heroic American fantasy that effort cancels out insecurity, that if I planned enough, paid enough, smiled enough, the story would resolve like a rom-com, or at least like customer service. And maybe that's the conspiracy here, that we're taught to fix betrayal with better reservations, to out-organize the ache, to make a grand gesture so the universe owes us a happy ending. And sure, call that toxic love if you like, but it felt like hope at the time, the good kind, the kind that buys matching beach towels. And I was good at it. I was the logistics boyfriend, the one who knows when the rental car place closes, who brings sunscreen that doesn't smell like a candle store, who shows up with chargers for everybody's phone. And they loved that. They loved me as a service. And the moment you become a service in your own relationship is the moment someone else tries to become the story, which is why his name started showing up in their conversations like a watermark, faint at first, then bolder, and I started getting edited out of plans I created. And if you want the exact moment I felt the floor tilt, it's this. A group text where I posted a photo of the villa and her mom responded, "He's going to love this." And the pronoun wasn't me. And when I asked who he was, the thread went silent, then rebooted into recipes, like the whole family turned into a cooking show. And that's when I realized I was funding a narrative that no longer had a role for me. And the American in me said, "Fight for it." And the scarred kid in me said, "Walk away." And the adult in me opened the laptop and looked at the back end of luxury and realized a third option, reclaim the levers I had installed everywhere. Because when the betrayal finally walked in on 2 legs and white shoes and a grin that said, "No hard feelings, brother," and my girlfriend said, "It's complicated," with the confidence of a weather report, and the family consensus hardened into, "This is best for everyone," my parting gift wasn't a scene. It was a quiet nod and a polite, "Have fun." And then I went home and began to press buttons, and the buttons pressed back. You would be amazed how much of our glamorous lives is held together by emails no one reads and policies no one understands. The kind of fine print that hums like a refrigerator in the background until someone pulls the plug, and that someone, in this case, was me. Not the villain of a thriller, not a hacker in a hoodie, just a man with admin access and a moral math problem to solve. And if you're looking for blood, look elsewhere, because revenge, the kind that doesn't ruin you too, is mostly clerical, mostly patient, and very, very quiet. So I started with the villa, where the manager remembered my earnest phone call about how this trip was for family and used that word back at me when I asked about the cancellation clauses. And I learned a magic trick of the American service smile. How rules bend when you sound reasonable. How a rebooking can become a maintenance issue. How a reservation can walk itself down the street to a property with views of a parking lot that someone optimistically called Urban Beach. And next came the boat, which had a strict policy about head count and a stricter one about late arrivals. And how curious that their new itinerary and their new guy's chill lifestyle did not vibe with a captain named after a tree who kept exact time. And then there were the dinners, the crown jewels of we deserve nice things, which is a sentence you can't say out loud without hearing the greed hiding in it, and I let the jewels become costume jewelry by adjusting the confirmation names and party sizes in ways that triggered that one deadly phrase at the maitre d's stand. I'm not seeing you here. And yes, there were refunds here and there, and credits that accidentally went to my account because systems are loyal to the first person who takes them seriously. And on the third day of their vacation from hell, that loyalty bought me a sleep-in Saturday and a latte I didn't have to share. And if that reads petty, remember I was the product for months, the planner, the payer, the passenger, until they tried to uninstall me, and I simply declined the terms and conditions. And all this would still just be a fable about logistics if not for the moment the conspiracy revealed itself full face. When a friend sent me a photo from the beach of my ex walking with white shoes like they were in a commercial for New Beginnings. And there it was, the glitch in the matrix. She didn't look free, she looked like someone auditioning for happiness. And in that frame I saw what I hadn't wanted to admit. This was never really about me or him. It was about a family that arranged its furniture and its daughters and its stories to face the same direction, toward whatever made them feel like winners that week. And I had tried to earn my way onto the mantle, and when that failed, I finally stepped off the stage, and if you want the fantasy, here it is. One night, while they were trying to salvage the trip with a karaoke bar that smelled like bleach and broken dreams, I dreamed I saw the ledger of our time together, actual numbers floating, the cost of each apology, the price of each compromise, and I woke up laughing, not cruelly, just honestly. The way a person laughs when a magic trick is explained, because love without respect is just expensive, and family without loyalty is branding, and cheating isn't just kissing someone else, it's joining a story that cuts someone out. And when people call this revenge, I let them, because the other word for it is boundary. And boundaries are just revenge you don't have to manage, and by the time the hotel finally moved them again, by the time the boat captain sent them a sorry with an anchor emoji, by the time the menu at their last chance restaurant spelled gnocchi like a threat, I had canceled exactly one thing I couldn't get back, the version of me who thought fixing everything was love. Which brings us back to 32B and the fluorescent truth serum of airports, where everyone becomes their real self because the carpet is ugly enough to cancel pride. And the family that used to be mine is discovering that the American dream comes with American paperwork, that when you swap out a person like a part, the warranty voids, and you can tell they're searching for a villain with a switch, for a single act that explains a week of unraveling. But the plot twist they won't accept is that a conspiracy against one person is ultimately a conspiracy against the story itself, and stories seek symmetry the way water seeks downhill, and I say nothing while they argue with math, because this is not my scene anymore. And the new guy, the one with the white shoes that are now scuffed like reality, finally noticed him, tries to catch my eye with an expression that suggests we're both reasonable men who should shake hands and laugh about how wild love can be, as if betrayal were a sitcom mix-up and not a choice, and my ex, who once whispered, "We're a team," into my shoulder at 2 a.m., like it was a vow, stands there looking at the pieces of a plan she didn't build and couldn't keep, and I want to say 100 things, clever things, clean things. But I don't, because silence is the last boundary I haven't weaponized, and anyway the speaker is calling something about Zone 3 boarding that feels like a metaphor, so I just breathe, and in my head I narrate the ending for you, the you who sat with me this far. I walk away without a speech because speeches are for people trying to sell a future, and the only future I'm selling is to myself, the kind where love doesn't mean fundraising for my own replacement, where family isn't a password, where toxic love is a phrase I never have to claim again. And if this feels like a parody of a breakup story, good, because nothing is more American than turning pain into content and then into clarity. And if it feels like a conspiracy, better. Because the only counterspell for a conspiracy is daylight and stepping into it. And if it feels like fantasy when I say I'm okay, I get that too. Because who heals cleanly from this? But listen, I didn't burn their trip so I could watch them suffer. I lit a flare so I could find my way out. And along the way the things they hid from me came into view. Who they were to me, who I was to them. The way cheating begins with small edits to the truth. The way betrayal sells itself as efficiency. The way revenge becomes unnecessary once you finally pay yourself back with honesty. And as I turned toward my gate, my own cheap little flight to nowhere special that I booked last minute for the price of a nice dinner, I realized the bill has arrived and, against all odds, it's not for me. And that's not justice in a cosmic sense, that's just the receipt for choices, and as the terminal noise swallows their argument, I hear what I needed all along. Quiet, the kind you can build on. And if you need one last line to stitch this up, take this one. The one I didn't say out loud because it's not for them, it's for me. Yes, they kicked me off the 12K vacation I paid for and replaced me with the guy they were trying to set her up with. But I made sure they regretted it all, not by becoming the villain in their story, but by stepping out of it and letting the story tell the truth.